Hello friends, good afternoon. Welcome to CEC EduSat lecture. Dear friends, I would like to tell you that for ensuring sustainable development for all, international community has recently adopted 17 sustainable development goals in respect of economic, social and environmental developments. These goals are proposed to be accomplished by 2030, and in today's lecture we will be talking about India's experience regarding these all sustainable development goals. And to take this lecture we have our subject expert Professor R.B. Singh with us. He is head department of geography, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. Dr. Singh is also the vice president of International Geographical Union. And with this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Professor Singh to our studio and request him to begin his lecture.
Thank you. Dear viewers, today we are going to discuss Sustainable Development Goals, Indian experiences. Since Brundtland Commission, we have been talking this fashionable word sustainable development, and traditionally sustainable carrying capacity is considered an important measurement of sustainable development. Sustainable developments include economic aspects, social aspects, ecological aspects and institutional aspects. And taking into consideration of these four, generally we try to promote in different part of our critical Indian regions. In recent years, if you will see, and particularly I would like to take up comparison with our BRIC countries. Even during global economic crisis, the growth of Indian economy has been stable, and it is very important for achieving sustainability. If you will see this graph, China also declined recently. If you will, South Africa also declined, Russia declined very substantially, Brazil, these both. But our economic GDP growth will be almost 7.5 also in current year. So, considering this aspect, I can tell this is a very important sign for sustainable development in our country. If you consider the key environmental changes in India, I would like to take up through this diagram three key emerging areas: population growth, poverty and inappropriate use of technology. You will remember since 1972 Stockholm Conference, even then leader of our Indian delegation, then Prime Minister late Mrs. Gandhi, highlighted that population growth and poverty, these are the two very important areas may be considered for the bringing environmental stress in developing countries. That statement in present context is also very appropriate. While looking challenging for sustainable development in our country, I would like to put before you few important statistics. As you know, geographically speaking, India constitutes 2.4% of the world geographical area, 17.5% of the world human population and almost 17.5% of world's animal population, cattle population. Poverty, if you will see, 30% people lives in poverty. Housing, if you will consider, even 20% of the population without proper any housing. If you will consider the electricity, 25% without electricity, and per capita consumption, if you consider 1/10 of the developed world. So, you can understand from your own perception type of problem we are getting in our country. Coming to Human Development Index, you see global rank 135, it is very low, and so that is why India's priority continues to be poverty eradication and achieving sustained growth. Through this lecture, we will try to understand a state of 17 sustainable development goals from our taking empirical evidences from our country. I would like to here review some of the important global initiative, and I would like to go back to United Nations Conference on Human Environment. It is very popularly known as a Stockholm Conference, followed by UN Conference on Environment and Development in 1992, very popularly known as Earth Summit. And at Earth Summit, you will remember global community approved 27 points Rio Declaration. For achieving that Rio Declaration, I think we adopted Forest Convention, UNFFC, United Nations Convention of Climate Change. Then we also the biodiversity principle, biodiversity principle. Then after 10 years, again global community organized another important meeting. It is known as World Summit on Sustainable Development in 2002. It is also known as Johannesburg Plan of Declaration or Implementation. And then finally, United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in 2012, where we discuss more about the future we want, how we are going to move in different parts of the world, and then sustainable development goals. I would like to put before you a small initiative taken in the past, and certainly my attention goes towards the World Commission on Environment and Development, very popularly known as Brundtland Commission, 1987, and they brought before us a very important definition. I quote, "Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs," unquote. Therefore, many countries including India adopted sustainable development in their policy framework. We also adopted sustainable and equitable use of resources for meeting the needs of the present and future generation without causing damage to environment. Particularly here I would like to highlight the two: to prevent further damage to our life support system and to conserve and nurture the biological diversity, biodiversity, gene pool and other resources for long term food security. So, broadly I can tell you the life support system, how we can conserve and nurture our life support system so that we can move in the area of direction which may be considered as a sustainable. I would like to link with some of the important global initiative, and particularly I would like to here mention health and well-being in the changing urban environment, particularly highest scientific body, International Council of Science. They launched this very ambitious program looking, analyzing health and well-being in mega cities and urban territories. Recent years we combine all different old programs and projects like IGBP, International Geosphere Biosphere Program, the study of global change, IHDP, International Human Dimension Program, LUC, Land Use Land Cover Change, and all we combine under the umbrella of what it is known as Future Earth initiatives. Then more this year global community also adopted disaster risk reduction for 2015 to 2030, and this is the outcome of the stakeholder negotiation consultation initiated in March 2012 and we adopted in March 2015. As a follow-up action in Geneva, Switzerland during 27 to 29 January 2016, again the UN ISDR organizing a conference on the role of science and technology for implementing Sendai framework of disaster risk reduction. And most recently, United Nations has passed resolution to implement sustainable development goals. Geographers, scientists, social scientists and policy makers should contribute towards achieving UN goals of sustainable development. So, before I proceed for 17-point sustainable development goals, few important SDGs issues emerge in recent years in Indian context. This includes poverty eradication. Poverty is not phenomena of the past. Food security and sustainable livelihood, all are interlinked. Water security, energy security, biodiversity, human health and well-being, disaster risk reduction and sustainable urbanization and resilient cities. Dear colleagues, we are living in an integrating science world. We have to integrate all different aspects. Like I would like to tell you one example. Water and energy may be linked with the food security. So, we have to give focus on integrated initiatives for achieving multiple benefits, and so that is why we are now focusing on integrated assessment of all these goals. On 25th September 2015, 193 countries of the UN General Assembly adopted this 2030 development agenda titled Transforming Our World. And transforming means planning and change. How we can bring the change? We can bring through transformation. And how we can transform? We can transform in the field of economy, society, ecosystem, and then also institutional reforms. And so that is why role of governance cannot be underestimated. You can see here these all 17 points like no poverty, no hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, clean energy, good jobs and economic growth, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and community, responsible consumption, protect the planet, life below water, life on land, peace and justice, and then partnership for the goals. I would like to take up these one by one and taking empirical evidences from our country. First, end poverty in all the form everywhere, and so that is why it is very important for us to consider space and time. Poverty is not phenomena of the past in our country, and you can see through this map we recorded highest poverty ratio in states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, then followed by Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, some part of the northeastern states, and we have less poverty ratio in states like Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, and Haryana, Punjab. These are the states where we have the low poverty ratio. Dear viewers, here I would like to bring before you the state of regional structure in our country. We have a very complex nature of poverty and resource pattern. We have states like Punjab and Haryana where poverty ratio is less, but if you will see, they are lacking natural resource base. On the other hand, if you will consider Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, we have better resources, but high poverty. So, there is no positive relationship between resource availability and the ratio of poverty in our country, and it is distributed all over the country in a very sporadic manner, what somebody called syndrome of collective poverty. So, our first important objective should be for achieving towards sustainable development goal for reducing poverty by providing sustainable livelihood by income and employment opportunity to the people living in a different part of our country. Second important goal, titled as End Poverty, Achieve Food Security, End Hunger, Achieve Food Security and Improve Nutrition and Promote Sustainable Agriculture. Food security may be considered in a very broader perspective. Food security exists when all people at all the times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food that meet their dietary need and food preferences for an active and healthy life. This I quoted from the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, 1996. So, what you are getting from this definition? We need physical availability of food, so production it is very important. Economic and physical access to food, it is very important, and so that is why it is distribution aspect is very important, and food utilization, third one. I would also like to take this opportunity to quote a very famous agricultural scientist, Professor M.S. Swaminathan, in 2011, I quote, mention, food security refers to physical, economic and social access to balanced diet, clean drinking water. So, that is why he brought before us also the drinking water, sanitation and primary health care for every child, woman and man. In this definition, Swaminathan focused on three important areas: availability, accessibility and food safety. Food safety, we have problem of pollution, we are shifting industry from the core of center of urban territories to the peripheral area, and so where these industrial establishments are being shifted, these are shifted very closer to the area where we have food production or the fruit production or vegetable production, and one can see very substantial impact of even pollution coming through industrial sources or some vehicular sources, but largely industrial sources on food. And so, that is why food safety is also very important aspects, particularly in urban territories. Land use, and so that is why we need to develop a balanced and appropriate land use. Land use is a synthesis of physical, chemical and biological processes on the one hand and societal and human responses on the other hand. And so, that is why land use is a very important, can play a very important role for achieving the sustainable development goals. Largely because food production, we need food production, and for that, what is the most important trend in our country? Agricultural intensification and extensification. So, we have horizontal and vertical expansion of agricultural area, but we have a limit of such expansion. We have to limit, and so that is why it is very important in this context that we should manage land in a more proper way, very systematic way, taking into consideration of landscape synthesis, means structural aspects of our soil or or physical aspects of our earth surface, and then we can propose. So, land suitability, and in this context I would like to tell you role of remote sensing, geographic information system is very important, because through this we can identify areas where we will have the more sustainable land use practices. Most important point I would like to elaborate here, that in marginal regions, particularly like a mountain, desert area, we are not using our land as per landscape synthesis, landscape structure. So, even soil testing is very, very important. How the such advice should go to the people, and in this context I would like to tell you agricultural university, Krishi Vikas Kendras, they can play a very important role for transforming transferring our knowledge from lab to the land, from scientific institution to the community. Cropping system, it is very important aspect also, because we have different type of crops in our country, rice, other cereals, pulses, oilseed. The food price is also very important aspects. And what happened in recent years, prices of pulses. So, in developing country, barely 30% of agricultural production undergoes industrial processing. In high income country, this figure goes to 98%, but in our setup 30%, in some area even less than 30%. So, it is very important for us that food processing industries, entrepreneurship development should take place for processing our agricultural products at a local level. IITs and ITIs, they should identify resources of the particular area. Every district should have a resource center where we should identify all natural resource base of that region, and how we can set up different income and employment generating activities utilizing local resources, local knowledge, local talent, local materials. We are getting also a lot of inefficient agriculture in our country. Like I would like to give you example of rice. West Bengal generally is considered, or the Andhra Pradesh traditionally considered is a rice producing area. But what about the productivity of rice? Highest productivity of rice we recorded in Punjab. Why? Because of Punjabi farmers use high dosage of fertilizers. So, if you will consider, it is very important for us to look input and output in agriculture, input and output in cropping, crop production or cropping system. Then, so production is not important, but efficient production of crop, that is important. So, that is why for safety point of view, Bengali rice may be considered as a more green rice, more eco products, less fertilizers, but in Punjabi rice or the in western Uttar Pradesh or the Haryana, we have a high dosage of fertilizer in the we use in our agricultural production, in cropping production, and so that is why we are not eating the rice, we are eating fertilizer. So, it is very important in this context in recent years, how we can achieve the eco products, sustaining a cropping. Cropping system is also very important. Rotation of crop and rotation of field, very important. For productivity, for achieving productivity and for long term productivity, it is very important. Farmers traditionally have been using different type of the leguminous crop, so that the soil can get the nutrient and just maintaining the nutrient. I think such type of the cropping system is very, very important for our country. Next goals: ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. And now you can see here the picture, what is the if you through this diagram categorization of a state based on their economic and healthcare indicators, and the states lagging behind include like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Bihar, Jharkhand, and where we have looking this economic and healthcare indicator, where we have the more better situation. We have more better situation in Gujarat, even in part of the north eastern state, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, relatively Uttarakhand also we have the means middle level, but where we have the more better situation, whole South India you can see, like states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. They have a more progressive, may be considered as more progressive considering their economic and healthcare indicators. So, through the diagram what we need? I think we have to give focus on traditionally earlier it was called also some state like a Bimaru states. It is very important for us to promote the healthcare practices. We have primary health centers, we have health sub centers, we have the hospitals. It is very important we should have equal distribution of these health sub centers in different part of the country. We should examine a status of healthcare practices by taking a particular dispensary served by area, served by population. In this way, I think we can promote a better strategy. It is very important here, I would like to tell you that we are lacking also the doctor, and so in this context even sometime the medicinal plants, local baths, they can play a very important role, but we need to give some training, we need to give some assistance, so that they should have some resources to serve people at a local level. Next goals, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunity for all. Through this map you can see literacy map. Literacy is a very important indicator for development and for achieving sustainable development, even for communicating sustainable development ideas and goals, for diffusing innovation, skill development, we need to improve literacy rate. But where we have a high literacy rate, you can see literacy rate, one can see a very positive relationship between the literacy rate also and then the poverty ratio also. Kerala, we have a very high literacy rate, part of the northeastern states, situation of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, these Karnataka and Tamil Nadu recorded more better literacy rate, but still we have situation is not very impressive in states like Bihar, even Andhra Pradesh, the Rajasthan, and so these are also generally considered as a Bimaru state. So, literacy is a very, very important indicator. Now, another important goal here I would like to put before you, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. And if you consider crime rate against women, that is the one important criteria I am taking here. So, the situation is very not uniform or equal. Many states are still lagging behind, and we have the more crimes. And so, here I would like to tell you also that integration is very, very important. So, like a earlier goal is very much linked with this. Education is very, very important. Quality education. Wherever we will have the quality education, quality of life also will improve, and we will have also the declining rate of crime against women. But in urban areas, we have also lot of crimes, but I would like to tell you our urban areas, we can't say like urban area may be considered as a developed area and rural areas may be considered as a backward or underdeveloped areas. Here many studies say that almost 15 to 20% of the rural areas are considered as a more better than the 15 and 20% of the urban area in our country. So, concept of urban peasantry, or ruralization of Indian cities, people are still practicing their own, rural livelihood pattern and the economic activity in the same way. And so, that is why educational level of female education is very, very important. We have to improve dropout rates in our country. In many areas, we have a still high dropout rates, and infant mortality rate, that is also very much linked with this. So, infant mortality, we have to improve the infant mortality rate in our country, because a skill development and the innovation can proceed in rural area when we will have more educated girls, more educated women. I would like to quote here Gandhiji, once he mentioned that educating a woman, educating a generation, and so that is why this is very, very important in present context. Next goal, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Water, globally 2.5 billion people lack access to basic sanitation, and almost 800 million people lack access to water. And where these people are living? Majority of them are living in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, where India is located. So, that is why very, very important. Now, we see the water stress index. Rajasthan, particularly the dry region, Rajasthan, part of Haryana, part of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, we have very high water stress. On the other hand, if you will see the groundwater, groundwater is a very, very important aspects of development, and also for supplying the drinking water. You see in northern India, in many canal irrigated area, we have improvement in groundwater. So, groundwater level is going down in the southern India, broadly speaking, but in the canal irrigated area we have the some improvement. Wherever we have tubewell dominated area, we have groundwater table is going down, and so that is why you can see in the many studies brought before us a very important danger signal, particularly in many districts of Punjab, where groundwater table is declining at a very higher level. Sanitation is very, very important, and so that is why we have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan initiatives, because this is very important. This is also linked with the health. So, many sustainable development goals are linked with each other, So, sanitation cannot be separated from health and well-being, all are very closely related. But you can see groundwater, if you will see, we have lot of areas still, we have the saline soil area, over red zone, you can see the all over exploited the groundwater. And so that is why many even urban areas, many states, they brought before us the ground water regulation rule, so that people should consume groundwater in a more appropriate way. Water harvesting, the more and more water harvesting system is being promoted in different part of the country, so that we should have a continuous recharge of groundwater. Next goal, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. So, energy cannot be separated from food security, and so energy even cannot be separated from climate change issue. So, all are interlinked. About 2.6 billion people in the developing world are facing difficulties in accessing electricity full time. Many states, big states, they do not have the continuous supply of electricity. In countries where data are available, the number of people employed in renewable energy sector is presently around 2.3 million. In developing country like India, we have a still very, very preliminary nature of renewable energy development. What we need, you can see largely, if you see this diagram, largely dominated by coal, followed by hydro, nuclear, then gas and oil and other. But what we need to do, if you see the future prospects, future energy use lies in wind power. We have most biomass productivity, a small hydro power, waste to energy. It is very important for achieving sustainable development goal that how we can recover resources from the waste. So, resource recovery from the waste, that is very, very important. Next goal, promote sustain, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. And so, that is why through GDP, I would like to tell you, we have very unequal distribution of GDP per person in our Indian states. Situation of Haryana, even Delhi, Punjab, Gujarat, Maharashtra, these states are performing very well if you consider the GDP. On the other hand, large part of the India where we have GDP per person is very less. It also varies from southern states are performing more better, but in if you see the central India and the eastern India, we have not much progress. If you consider the per capita GDP, this is a very important indicator for achieving the sustainable development goals. We are achieving 7% or 6.5% growth rate in GDP, but it is very important to see whether every part of our country are getting fruits of development. Why this is important? So that we can remove regional disparities, we can remove regional imbalances. Without removing regional imbalances, without removing regional disparities, it is not possible to achieve sustaining growth for our country for a longer time periods. So, through this diagram, one can prioritize the problem, and priority certainly goes towards the Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Assam, where we have to give more focus. Even population control measures also should be taken into consideration in these areas. Next is a build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. Manufacturing sector is very, very important. About 470 million jobs worldwide in 2009 and around 16% of the world workforce of 2.9 billion in 2000. In 2013, it is estimated that there were more than 500 million jobs in manufacturing. This sector, we can't neglect this sector, but you see here in our country, we have very polarized nature of manufacturing development. You can see either part of Orissa and West Bengal, then Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, then in Gujarat and Maharashtra. These are the 3-4 important pockets. I think we should remember the concept, well known concept of our Gandhiji, Vikendrikaran, decentralization. This is not a decentralization. So, without decentralization, sustainable development cannot be achieved. Decentralized development is a need of the hour. You can see here industrial regions of India and CO2 emission. Now, we are talking about the climate change. Our Prime Minister or other dignitary will go to Paris and negotiation continuing, but you see industrial regions and CO2 emission, and then also the CO2 emission particularly from also from the rice producing areas, and large part is still not much. So, we have CO2 emission concentrated in big mega cities or metropolitan cities of our country. It is very important for us, and time to time I used to highlight that like sustainable development goals in South Asia, or even I would like to consider sustainable development goals of the Asia. I can tell you 2 aspects are very, very important: disaster risk reduction and making mega cities more resilient. How sustainable urbanization we can achieve, then we can bring sustainable development in Asia and more specifically in the South Asian country like India. You see the measure, a small and medium sized enterprise make up 90% of the business worldwide, account for between 50-60% of the employment. Now, you can see here these are some of the important sector. We have the very high employment in trade, hotel, transport and communication, financing, insurance, real estate and business services. So, this graph is very, very important, because taking lesson from such graph, we can plan for the future. So, the future sustainable development goals present status is the transformation of the past, and future will be the transformation of the present. Such diagram can help us in coming on conclusion where we should focus. We have also lot of, you see the mining and quarrying declining, manufacturing not much, electricity, gas, water, these are the a sector where I think we have to give a lot of focus. Next, reduce inequality within among countries, and in our case within and among states. We have to compare the different states, and you can see here the mapping inequality, percentage of household with availability of the TV, computer, laptop. You can see we have area some, but you can say the islands of development, islands of prosperity and islands of poverty one can see here. What we need here to prioritize we can't solve all problem together, but according to resources we can prioritize our problem, so that we can move in the era of direction which may be considered as a sustainable. Then we can bring a very important status of the fashionable word sustainable before the development, because development means prosperity of the people and prosperity of the place, not only the prosperity. So, that is why in our Indian context we have to emphasize on three aspects: improving productive system, infrastructure development, and also the welfare schemes. If you will highlight only the productive system, I think we are neglecting the two very important area. So, productive system, infrastructure development and welfare scheme must go hand in hand. Make city a human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable. 31st October was the World City Days. You can see, it is for sustaining growth, cities are very, very important, and in Asian region people are moving to the mega cities, metropolitan cities. In our case you can see Delhi, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Bangalore, all attracted lot of population, because we are getting more job and employment. And so that is why it is very important for us to deal city ecologically, inclusiveness, and if I am taking inclusiveness, then I can tell you that the crime against women is also very important. The peaceful development, sustainable, inclusive and peaceful development in the cities, megas and small and medium towns are stagnating. We have to give focus on. No doubt government has taken a very important step for developing 100 smart cities in different part of the country. I think this initiative can bring certainly change in our whole urban system. But you see here the sector wise carbon emission. Why? Because you see this increase of vehicles, how motor vehicles are increased in recent years in urban areas, and in future also we are going, and so that is why 70% of pollutant in cities like Delhi and all largely coming from the transport sector. Ensure sustainable consumption and production pattern. It is very, very important that a strong domestic demand helps economy to grow. If economy will grow, we will have also the consumption and production pattern, and no doubt we have improvement in 2014 and 15 in comparison of the last 3 years. But what are the important unsustainable products? It is very important for us to identify some of the unstable sustainable production and consumption, like greenhouse gases, pollution effect, land and water degradation, depletion of resources, population growth, market distortions, unbalanced market. These are some of the important area where we have, because if you want sustainable development, you have to see also identify unsustainable pattern of development in our country. Here I would like to quote Mahatma Gandhi ji. Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. So, what we are getting here? Sustainable consumption. We can say that there is enough for the need of every nation, but not enough for the greed of even one nation. So, careless application of technology, greed of the rich should be limited. Need of the people and particularly the poor people is very, very important. Here you see developed countries are producing the more waste. Here I brought because we have less waste production in comparison of the developed country. Where we have more development, more waste production. You can see emission by countries. If you see India, we have the CO2 emission per year, 1.97 billion tons, 5.7% of the total global. But in other region, you can see this China, United States, European Union, we have had some, if you per capita also, if you see, we have very less, So, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact, and so rising some of the impending disasters like rising sea level, declining in water availability, chances of warming, excessing by 2100, but we have several measures, and what we need national action plan for climate change here. This includes solar mission. So, ultimately the more non-conventional energy sources, national mission for enhanced energy efficiency, national mission for sustainable habitat, water mission, national mission sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem. These are the sustainable agriculture, green India, knowledge, strategic knowledge on climate change. These are the very, very important. And if you will see here the COP 2030 meeting the target. So, here you can see we have the target of 2014 and 2013 if you will see. So, total renewable 31%. This is a very, very important figure. We have to the gas, oil, coal we have to bring down to 32%. So, more and more non-conventional energy sources. How we can achieve this practical solution? Through more fuel efficient vehicles, reduced vehicle use. So, public transport system, energy efficiency in buildings, so green buildings and green neighborhoods, develop carbon capture and storage processes, increase solar power, decrease deforestation, and more afforestation. No doubt in Delhi we have a very impressive afforestation also, improve soil carbon management strategy. Next goal, conserve and sustainable use of ocean, seas and marine resources for sustainable development. We have a long coastal line. It is very, very important for us. Integrated coastal zone authority should implement integrated coastal zone management, taking into consideration of the sectoral, all different sectors, all spatial geomorphic units, area and institutional aspects, in the coastal zone. Because even land ocean interaction in the coastal zone, it is very, very important due to the tsunami or many disasters, tsunami induced flooding or cyclone induced flooding in inland area. We are getting a lot of flooding, and then the sea water meeting into the groundwater and bringing changes in our land use system. All even productive land brought changes in the form of the wasteland. People are not able to use or in a more productive way. Protect, restore and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystem, sustainably manage forest, combat desertification and halt and reverse land degradation and biodiversity loss. You can see here we have particularly the wind, arid land or semi-arid environment. We have a large part of the area affected by land, different type of the land degradation process. And these land degradation process like a water induced degradation, wind induced degradation, particularly in the arid area in part of Gujarat and Rajasthan. We have then in central India we have due to the water or river water, ravine and all wastewater, why we need to regenerate such area through afforestation, by providing different type of livelihood option to the people, and such livelihood option for food security, health security, how we can improve the water productivity of such land, even the water harvesting structure can be very, very important. And so that is why you can see here where we have the biggest loss and net forest loss, not much forest biggest loss achieved in our country, but certainly net forest area has increased in some part of the area, but some part. So it is very important we should have a balanced afforestation in different part of the country. Afforestation is a very important aspect for achieving the sustainable development goal. We have so many biodiversity hotspots in the Western Ghat, in the Northeast India, in the Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, area. Such biodiversity is also facing a different type of the problem due to the climate change, due to impending climate change, or due to some stress on our water resources. We need to protect through several eco-development committee by involving the people in this whole process. You can see the impact, how one example of Caribbean region, that how coral bleaching and the fish stock decline due to the biodiversity loss, and promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels. So you can see the Global Peace Index here. The Global Peace Index emphasize our status also. We have to improve this peace index, and this can be done by improving productivity. You can see here productivity, how we can improve. We can improve environment, well-being and infrastructure, emphasizing all. And so that is why sustainable development education is a need of the hour. Our Gandhiji told, education for life, education through life, education throughout life. Youth population, we have a large youth population, in our country, and we have to mobilize such youth resources for creating awareness through education. I think NASA has several programs. You can see that how Divya's Shikhar Smriti Vidyalaya in Lucknow has set up a small weather monitoring station. Students are using such. In our department, we recently installed the automatic weather station, and so that is why it is very important for us influencing behavioral change and sustainable production and consumption through communication, by improving the communication system. And finally, I would like to tell you that science for sustainable development includes, we have to focus on transdisciplinarity, and transdisciplinarity means this integrates interdisciplinary and participatory approach. Second, science policy interface for sustainable development. This was highlighted a lot, and so that is why policy relevant analysis is a need of the hour. Whatever researches our university people or the college people are doing, I think policy relevant. And then platforms of sustainable development, dialogue, youth, women, youth science policy interface platform on sustainable development of UN MGCY. In this way, the community relevant analysis is very, very important. Thank you, viewers.
Thank you so much for this such interesting and informative lecture. Our viewers will be definitely benefited for your lecture, and thank you so much viewers for watching, and stay tuned, keep watching. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.